Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to work on the Calliope earrings, and they're going to go with the necklace that we made last video. Of course, you know, they're standalone pieces, but I made them to go together. So if you want a little set, here you go. So here's the earring. It is using a 12mm Rivoli to sort of complement this big 18mm Rivoli. And these are Swarovski, and this is a Potomac Crystals Rivoli. So, I mean, I think the sparkle is gorgeous. So we'll do these today. Very simple. During the bezeling, or during the whole video, I'm giving you a bunch of tips on how to make your bezels look really good, how to do connections, how to get through difficult spots when you're trying to get, you know, your needle through and it's not going through. So be sure to take note of those, because it really makes it much easier to get a bezel done. So you can really do these very quickly. All right, let's get a materials list going right now. So here we go. You're going to need 2 of your 12mm Rivolis. As I said, these are Swarovski. You'll need some Delicas, and I'm using 2 different colors. I'm using a metallic and a color, you know, to just go with, you know, the theme that we have going here. You need a 15-0 seed bead. You might need a Charlotte, so have those little Charlottes handy. 11-0 seed bead. You need a few 3mm Bicones, 4 to be exact. You'll need some ear wires. You'll need a couple of drops, any kind of drop you like. These are a little, I think these are 9x6 or 10x5, something like that. This is a vertical drop. You can do anything you like. You can do a briolette too. Just have to sort of change the way you attach it a little bit. You'll need a couple of 4mm Bicones. You'll need 2 head pins, and I'm using just a 1-inch head pin. For the necklace, I used a 2-inch, or wherever that is. I didn't really need a 2-inch head pin. You can actually do this drop with a 1-inch head pin and make it a nice thick gauge. This is probably an 18 gauge, even 16, 18, something like that. It's really thick, and you want it a nice gauge. It really makes a nice loop when you have a nice thick gauge, and it's easier to make it. I've got some chain here, and if you notice on the earring, I attached chain to the actual earring right there, a little Rolo chain before I put the drop on, and I think it came out so pretty. It really looks nice having that little bit of chain there. So you need a couple of pieces of, you know, some Rolo links, and you want the links to go, you want to make sure that you have this like this. You have one that's sort of in a vertical, and one where the ring is facing you. So I have 2 of those, one for each earring. Did I say, yes, I said the drops. I have a stop bead. I have a size 10 beading needle. You're going to need a 12 also, which, let me grab that. Sorry about that. I'm using 8-pound Fireline black satin, but you can use dragon thread here. I think that would be great for, you know, this smaller bezel. I think that's everything. So anything that I want to add or I forgot, I'll put in the description box below the video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my channel, and ring the bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. Also, everything here is listed in the description box below the video. Links to places to purchase beads if you need them. A coupon code for my mat, the big mat. There's a link for the No More Oops bead tray. I know I'm a broken record, but I just want you to know everything. And don't forget, there's also a coupon code for 10% off your order. I think it's 25 or more. At Eureka Crystal Beads, and that's good till December 31st. So, you know, might as well, you know, save a couple of bucks if you're doing any ordering. I'll link everything down below, and I think that's it. So let's get started. Okay, before we start the bezel, I thought we'd just prep our drops so we don't have to do it later. So here's my 1-inch head pin, very wide, thick gauge. So it's got to be 18, maybe even 16. And that just makes the whole earring look better. All right, so I'm just going to put on my drop. I'm going to put on an 11-0, my 4mm Bicone, and another 11-0. This is what I have. I'm just going to take my chain nose, flat nose, just give it a bend like that. And then I'm just going to make a loop by just taking my round nose and just bringing it around, just like that. And you want to make sure that it touches, and then straighten it out. So like little things like this, when you're making something simple, You want everything to be straight, you want everything to be even, and you can do that very easily just by going like so. So everything is nice and straight, your loop is nice. And then you just put that one aside, and it's ready for later. All right, let's start the bezel. So thread your needle with about 3 feet of thread, put on a stop bead around the middle. So we're going to pick up and drop down to our stop bead 30 Delicas for the 12 millimeter Rivoli. I've alternated. I started with a red one, gold, red, gold, and so on until I had 30. So I have a red one here and a gold one here. I'm just going to sew those into a circle. Like that. And then I'm just going to pick up my gold Delicas and I'm going to do peyote, just like we did with the pendant. So exiting the red one, picking up a gold, skipping the gold, sewing through the next red. Making sure it pops up on that previous gold bead. Yep, just sew through each red one, or pick up a bead, skip a bead, sew through the next bead. Like that. Picking up a bead, skipping the gold one, sewing through the red one, and so on. Just do that all the way around and then we'll step up. Okay, coming down to the end, a couple more beads to put on. So here's my next bead. And then I'm going to pick up my last gold bead and I'm going to sew through the red one and then the gold one on the diagonal to step up. This is what we have. Now we're going to do one more round, put on a red round. So pick up a red, sew through the gold. Pick up a red, sew through the gold. Putting my thumb in, giving it a little pull. Pick up a red, go through the gold. So do that all the way around and then we'll step up. Okay, coming down to the end, so I have all my red beads on except for my step up bead. So here, exiting here, I'm going to sew through this gold one, and then the red one on the diagonal. Clear that up a little bit. Like that. Pop that into place. And this is what I have. Back off a little bit. Okay. So now we're going to put on some 15-0s. So pick up a 15-0 and you're going to sew through every sticking out Delica. This is the red one I'm sewing through here. Just going to do that all the way around. And then we'll step up. Now let's put our last bead on, step up. So here, exiting the red one, sewing through this red one, and then the 15-0. So the red Delica and the 15-0 on the diagonal to step up. That's what it looks like. Go around one more time with 15-0s, or if you want, you can try a Charlotte there. There's a little bit of play here depending on the stone that you're using. Some of them are slightly thicker or thinner than others, so play with that. But I'm going to do another round of 15-0s, then I'll meet you at the end. Okay, time to step up. So here's my last 15-0. Exiting this 15-0, I'm going to sew through the next 15-0, then that 15-0 on the diagonal. Like that. You might have to switch your beading needle to a 12 at some point. So there we go. I'm going to give it a pull. And now we're finished with one side. Okay, so here we are on, this is the back of my bezel. So we just did our 2 rounds of 15-0s. I've gone ahead and sewn my thread in and, just sewed around my bezel a little bit on the diagonal. Then I reversed direction and so did a little bit more, and I clipped that thread off. Sometimes, I often leave that thread. That's part of, I guess, my design process is I tend to leave, some threads in the back of a bezel sometimes because then I may use it again or I may use it for designing. So when I do that, that's the reason I do that sometimes. And sometimes I leave it because we're going to use it again. In that case, you don't really need that thread, so you can clip that one off. All right, so here I've threaded my needle with the other thread, so we're going to work on the front now. This is what it looks like. you will be exiting red bead. Pull on a little bit. Just want to get to these outside beads. So I'm going to just sew through the gold one. So from this red one to this gold one. And then I'm going to add a round of 15-ohs. First I'm going to put my stone in. Here we go. So pretty. And then I'm going to add a round of 15-ohs. So let's see, let me just make sure. Okay. So just a 15-oh through each sticking out bead. Each sticking out delicate. And I noticed with this is a Swarovski I'm using, so I noticed with the Swarovski, because it is a little bit thinner on the edge. See how thin, oh, sorry about that. See how thin that edge is compared to some, which I don't have in front of me, to some of the other crystals, like the Chinese or the Czech. They can be thicker, so the fit's going to be a little bit different. So I'm starting with a 15-oh with the Swarovski crystal. And I'm going to just do a round of 15-ohs all around. You can see it's slightly loose. And my second round, I'm going to put on Charlotte's. But let's just get to the end of the first round, and then we'll step up. Okay, coming around to the end, I'm going to put on my last couple of beads. So a 15-oh. Now I'm going to step up. So picking up my 15-oh and sewing through the Delica, and then the 15-oh on the diagonal. It's like that. Now I'm going to put one more round of beads on. Now you can do the 15-oh, or I'm going to do a Charlotte. It's a slightly smaller bead than the 15-oh, and I just think it works really well here. So I'm just going to add either your 15-oh or your Charlotte at this point, pulling in towards the center a little bit. Not super tight, but just giving it a little nudge in that direction. So do that all the way around, and then we'll step up. All right, let's step up. So picking up your last bead, you're going to sew through the next 15-oh, and then the one on the diagonal to step up. And then there you go. Pulling in, that looks pretty good. And then I'm just going to, if you're a little loose, I mean, it's actually feels pretty good. You can always tighten your bezel by sewing around, but right now we're exiting this bead right here. I just want to get to the center beads. I'm going to sew through this one. I'm going to sew through this gold one, so I'm going everything on the diagonal to get to these beads here. And let me just check and see where did I go through gold? I went through gold. Okay. I'm just going to sew through the beads on the diagonal till I get to this gold bead right here. And then we're just going to leave it at that, and then we'll continue. All right, so now we're going to start the little stitch in the ditch around, putting that little 11-oh around there, around the bezel. So we're exiting the gold one right here. So picking up a gold 11-oh, this is the round, the round bead. And we're just going to put it in between each gold Delica. Gold stitch in the ditch. It's a nice little decoration around the edge. Looks pretty with the necklace. All right, so just going to do that. Keep doing this. And I don't want you to totally finish it, because we're going to add our drop, or the loops for our drop, as we go around. So just, get to sort of, a few beads before the end, and then we'll add that piece of chain on. Okay, we're coming down to the end. I'm going to put I'm just going to leave one space. So here I'm exiting, the gold. I'm going to put another stitch in the ditch bead on, and then I just have one space left. And this space between these two gold ones on the bottom, see, we're not going to put the gold one there. It's going to coincide with two beads up here, so it should hit you right in the middle there. So we're going to pick up our little piece of chain, and you want to hold it this way, so this vertical loop is facing you. The vertical loop is this way and the open loop is facing you. And I'm just going to, instead of putting a bead on, I'm just going to put my needle through that. And then I'm going to sew through the next gold one. So instead of putting on a 11-0, we're just putting that piece of chain there. And then when I pull, this is what it looks like. All right, so that's exactly what you're going to do. And then you're going to sew through this next Delica just like that. So, and this is what it should look like. So just get to that point and then we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So I'm exiting this red Delica. Now, if you want to reinforce what you just did, to, you know, because you're maybe worried about this loop staying here, I'm going to direct you through because I'm running out of thread, so I don't want to use all my thread up. So you're exiting here. You're going to reverse direction, sew through this one, sew through this one, sew through this one, sew through this one, reverse direction, sew through this guy, through the loop again, through the gold one, back through the red one, and then you're back where we started from again. So do that, and then if you want to reinforce it, and then come back and we'll continue. All right, here we are. We're exiting this red bead. Now I'm going to use the rest of my thread to come up to the top to add my ear wire on, but you can sew your thread in and add another thread here to do the top. I'm just being a little lazy, so here I'm just going to sew on the diagonal till I get to the top. And in a way, if your bezel is a little loose, it might even be helpful to sew around a little bit. But I'm just sewing on the diagonal until I get to the two beads at the top that are just opposite of where I put my loops on. So I'm getting there. There. Let's see, I want to get to this bead here. So I'm exiting the red one. I'm going to sew through this gold one. It's a little tight fit. It's just the turn. There we go. Like that. And then through this bead. And then I'm going to check and make sure I'm pretty well centered. Yep, that looks good to me. All right, get that done and we'll add the ear wire on. Okay, we're back. So now it's time to add the ear wire on, and this is very simple at this point. So here we are, exiting this bead here. I'm going to pick up a 3mm bicone, my wire. Let me move these guys out of the way. Like that. 3mm bicone. Through this one. And you want to make sure that that ear wire sits, that the bicones sit on either side of the ear wire. You don't want the bicone sitting on the thread. You want it right in there. And you might have to play with them a little bit to get them to sit beautifully. There we go. Coming out of that 11-0, dig down in there. And sew through this Delica. Right there. Just another weird angle. There we go. This is a size 12 beading needle. Now I'm sewing on. And we're going to do the same thing we did, you know, reinforce like you did on the bottom. So here I'm just sewing through just some of the beads until I get to the other side. This. This one. Back through the gold one. Again, a tight turn. It's not that they're filled with thread, it's just a bit of a tight turn. You'll have to wiggle a bit to get in there. And it's fighting me a little bit. There we go. Make sure you don't get caught on your other beads, and then you're just going to sew through this 11-0 again, the bicone, your ear wire, and the bicone, and the 11-0 on the other side. And then you're going to go through your Delicas and you're going to sew that thread in, and then you have your ear wire on. So get that done and come back and we'll finish up. Back for a second. So I just want to give you a little tip when you get through something that's really like a tight angle. So I'm exiting that 11-0 after I went through the bicones, and I want to sew through this bead, only I'm just having trouble getting my needle to come out through the other side because of the angle. So I'm just going to let my needle go. I'm just going to push right through and see where it comes out on the back. So I've just pushed through. Okay, I'm just going to pull through and let my, just make sure it doesn't get caught on anything. Make my, just pull like that. And then when I turn on the back, do you see where I'm exiting? I ended up going through that bead, that gold one, and this red one. So I ended up going through here, right? And then I put my needle through this bead. When I turned around the other side, it came out of that same bead and through the red one, which is perfect because that would be where I would want to put my thread anyway to sew it in. Oops. And then I'm just going to sew through a bead like that, and then you can clip your thread off. So sometimes when you get stuck, if you just go in the direction that the bead is going, make your needle go in that direction, 9 times out of 10, you're just going to be going through the right way, and you're going to end up, sewing on the diagonal through another Delica. And if it doesn't work out, then you just have to take it out. But just a little tip for when you get into these little tight spaces. Okay, so get that done, and then come back, and we'll finish up. So the only thing we have to do is put our drop on. So we've already done the drop, right? So here, I'm just going to, let's move this guy, put the drop on like so. And so I'm closing it in the back. And then just close my ring. And there, our earring is done. So how cool is that? That was fun, and it was easy, right? So here is our little set. If you want, if you want something that is, that is coordinating. How fun was that? How easy was that? I hope you enjoyed it. Have fun wearing this little, I think it's adorable. All right, take care. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.